Just come back from shopping and I thought, you know what, let me just do a quick video. Not too sure how long I'm going to be on here for. I don't even know whether I'm looking at the camera or not. I'm just all over the place. I found out a couple of weeks ago that I'm anemic. And I'm thinking, oh God, not again. And that was just by the off chance. I found blood in my poo. And I'm going to tell you the story about that on another video. But I had a loss of blood, which brought me down to A&E or ER. A&E in England, we call it. Found out that through them doing the blood tests that I'm anemic. I was 103. The guidelines here is 115 to 165 for hemoglobin. Mine was sitting at 103. Anyway, the weirdest thing is when they told me I was anemic, I didn't have any symptoms as far as I knew. It was after the blood loss, probably a few days later, that my symptoms started to kick in. And what I was finding was, just for me to even walk maybe 100 yards down the road, I'm having to catch my breath. Whereas before, I had no problems walking, but running I would have a problem catching my breath when I'm running. Now, for someone that was very athletic once upon a time, back in my teens, I did all the sports you can think of, was in all the teams you could think of. In my 20s, that all went downhill, life took over. Then in my 30s, I was very much a gym fanatic. So I'd be down the gym 4 times a week, twice a day. Then I hit my 40s and something happened in my 40s. This was just pre-menopausal, that my energy levels just weren't the same. The weight started to creep up. My weight started to creep up. I'm still going to the gym, but I'm not losing anything now. And it got to a point where, oh, what's the point? Oh, I can't keep doing this. This is ridiculous. I don't know what's going on with my body. And I put it down to being perimenopausal. And I'm saying to myself, oh, time of life. So this is what it's all about. This is what aging is all about. So I just let it go straight over my head, and I thought, well, this is my new normal now. Not knowing that a lot of the symptoms that I was experiencing through perimenopausal, the hormonal imbalances, etc., were deficiencies. This is what I found out in the past sort of 6 weeks of this happening with the blood loss. I've done so much research into this that I've sort of started asking a lot of questions, because with all the symptoms I was experiencing, I put it down to being perimenopausal, which it is, but at the same time, those hormonal imbalances are all deficiencies. And what I found out is that I'm iron deficient, I'm ferritin deficient, my vitamin D is borderline, and I'm thinking, what else is going on? What I've started to do, well, what I started doing during menopause actually, which started about 6 years ago, I'm going to say 2016, what I started to do on the odd occasion, whenever I had blood tests, I would always ask for a printout, because I was no longer starting to believe everything the doctor told me. I said, no, there's got to be more going on here. So I've kept all these printouts and I'm looking, okay, so she says I'm normal. Okay, but my normal has been 115, which is the bottom end, which is what they call normal, 115 to 165. my normal has been 115, I'm going to say for approximately the past sort of 10 years. And it's only because of, like I said, losing the blood loss just recently, that's made me sort of, let me join the dots here, because something doesn't sit right. So every time I've had blood tests, I've been told I'm normal, but I am borderline. I sit at the bottom end at 115 every single time, sometimes 116, and the odd time I've seen 120, but that's going back 10 years. But of late, in the past 4, 5, 6 years, it's been 115. And I'm thinking, okay, there must be a deficiency somewhere. And then when I started looking at my iron levels and my ferritin levels over those years, because what I did the other day, I rang up for some blood tests I had done recently. They wouldn't give it over the phone, and they wouldn't sort of print it out. They said, oh, you can get it on your app if you want. And I thought, okay, app? What's this app? So this is a new thing. I'm not highly technical in that respect. So I went down to the receptionist and I said, you mentioned about this app. How do I get this app? So she showed me what I needed to do and gave me a password to get into this new, to be able to download my medical records, etc. So I said, right, okay, I'm not leaving this surgery. I'm going to sit over here, do what you've just told me to do, and if I have any problems, I'm going to come back to reception, because I wasn't going to leave there and come and get home and then find that I get stuck again. No, not doing that. So she showed me what to do. Yeah. So that got sorted. Now, when I got home and I looked at my back records, it went back to 2013. So the past 9 years, I was able to view all the blood tests that I had. Now, with those blood tests, as I said, my hemoglobin was sitting every single time. I'm going to say 70% of the time sitting at 115. So I was always borderline. I do question now whether going back, even back to childhood, back to my 20s, back to my teens, whether I've been deficient all that time, anemic all that time. In the past, I've had the odd iron tablets because of anemia. I've never really taken it seriously enough until recently, and asked all the questions under the sun until recently, because like I said, we just believe what the doctors tell us. Oh, Miss Phillip, no, there's nothing abnormal with your results. You're fine. But you know you're not. You know you're not. But you convince yourself that the doctors know what they're talking about. No, they don't. Because, as I said, the levels can, for iron levels, for instance, it's between 9 and 30. My iron was at 8. So if you sit at 9, they will say you're normal. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? So as I said, I've been reviewing all my results over the past sort of 9 years, and I've been comparing my notes, looking at all my figures, and all the figures that I'm seeing, all the guidelines that they put the numbers in between. I have sat at the bottom end every single time. And I've been classed as normal every single time. Now, as I mentioned, with all this happening in the past 6 weeks or so, I no longer believe a word the doctors tell me. Now I'm doing my own research. I'm doing my own research and being my own doctor. So, with all this information that I've got so far, I'm going to be keeping an eye on this. I want to see my levels, whatever range they sit, if it's between 9 and 30 for iron, I want to see my levels at 20. If I don't see them at 20, to me, I'm abnormal. Again, with the hemoglobin, 115 to 165 is where it sits. If I don't see my levels at 130, Anything under that to me will be abnormal. What else do we have? We have ferritin. Ferritin is between, oh God, where do I put it? Ferritin is between 30 and 400 UGLs. My ferritin sits at 47. Bottom end is 30. My ferritin sits at 47 and the top end is 400. Are you hearing me? If I don't see that at 200, in my head, that to me is abnormal. I don't care what the doctors tell me. If I don't see 200, it's going to be abnormal in my head. And then we have vitamin D. I've been vitamin D deficient as far back as I can remember. I fluctuate up and down with that. And I've known that for quite a while. Now, my vitamin D sits at 140 NMOL. Yes, a bit of a mouthful that is. Converted into NGML, that makes it 56 NGML. And they class that as adequate levels. So, as far as they're concerned, I sit at the top end of their levels. Their levels sit between, the guideline for them is between 80 and 150 NMOL. And I sit at 140 NMOL. In NGML, that would be 32 to 60 NGML. So I sit at the top end of that. But then when I've read a few, looked at a few videos and research on this, what I found with people of dark skin, nothing under 100 NGML is adequate for us. So I'm sitting at 56 NGML at the moment. I'm virtually halfway there. For someone of dark skin, you need to be looking minimum 80. 100 is where they would prefer you to be, but minimum 80. But that's by me doing research on this. But in your doctor's surgery, the maximum is 60 in their eyes. And that's across the board for everybody. So they don't differentiate by race or colour, anything of that sort. But as I said, doing my research, looking at vitamin D for dark skinned people, minimum is 80 NGML we should be looking at. 100 would be better. So at the moment, mine sits at 56. Again, to me, that's abnormal. So I will be aiming for that 100 marker. I'm not going to have no doctor tell me anything different. I've got to that point in life where enough is enough. I'm not doing this. No longer am I going to hear on the phone, "Oh, Miss Phillip, not everything's normal. Yeah, your blood test came back normal. Nothing to worry about." I don't want to hear it. Now I've got this app, I can see it all for myself and make my own judgment. I'm tired. At the moment, what I'm doing now, I'm just strolling. I don't rush to go nowhere. I put an extra 10-15 minutes on my time to make sure I can get to where I need to go to. Because, I'm not letting this heart race. No, we're not having that. And that's all because of my being anemic as well as iron deficient. So I have iron deficiency anemia. That's what I have at this moment. So walking up a flight of stairs, forget that. I live in a block. I'm glad the lift works. Because boy, would I be in trouble. And the weirdest thing is, I've felt this feeling for a while. But again, I put it down to menopausal, hormone imbalances, which it really is, hormone imbalances. I'm deficient in a lot of these things. And being menopausal has brought it all to the surface. So that's really what I'm saying here. As I mentioned, walking up flights of stairs, I'll get at the first flight. Maybe by the second flight, I'll be huffing and puffing. Give me a minute. I just need a second. Let me stop. Let me breathe. Let me get a few gasps in, and then I can carry on. That went on for, I'm going to say, a good 3 or 4 years. And again, I really didn't pay it no mind. It's only because of the other day where I went out for my birthday. Me and my sister were walking to the bus stop, which is probably about 400 meters down the road. And I would normally keep pace. We would normally keep pace with each other. She was keeping a decent pace. And I was falling behind. I'm thinking, what the F is going on here? That's where I felt I was having to catch my breath. I thought, no, we're not doing this. I need to know what's going on. And I think it was that week that I thought, right, I'm going to go for my blood tests and find out what's going on. So this was a week after losing the blood. And a week later, it's my birthday. And it's a week after that I decided to go and get my bloods done. And to find out where my levels sat. And as I mentioned, it was 103 at the hospital. By the time the bloods were run 2 or 3 weeks later, it was 106. So I was still way under. Dear. But like I said, going out for my birthday was where it really sort of hit home for me. I said, this is not me. I'm normally quite an energetic person. I can run for a bus and not be huffing and puffing. I couldn't even walk for the bus. I had to tell my sister, you know what? Slow down. I'm not going to catch that bus because I feel I'm going to keel over. Make me run anywhere. Make me speed walk anywhere. It's over. It's a wrap. That's how I felt. So right now, I'm trying to rest. Trying to get my iron levels up because I was finally prescribed some tablets after they checked my bloods, but they didn't check my iron levels. So I had to do another blood test to get those checked. And I said, while you're at it, check my iron, my ferritin, my vitamin D. And also my B12, please. Because like I said, I did my research. And I said, nope. I'm not going to have you tell me what I need. I'm going to tell you what I need. So forget just a hemo test, which they call as, that's what you call a full blood count in this country here in the UK. Full blood count is just your bloods. They will check it. That's your hemo, your red blood cells, your white blood cells, your red blood cells distribution, all that fanjangle there. But it doesn't include your iron, doesn't include your vitamin D, doesn't include your ferritin, your folate, your thyroid, all those things you have to specifically ask for. Otherwise, as far as you're concerned, you're normal. So this is where I'm going to leave it. But I'm going to come back and talk about this blood loss, because that's a whole nother story. And before I forget, I will also come back and talk about the iron deficiency anemia in much more detail in another video, because there's more to tell on that one as well. Until next time.